Hello and welcome to VOS Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. I want to thank you for joining us today on the show. As always, right here on Red Carpet, we bring you the latest in entertainment news, in sports, in fashion, in film and television from around the world. Let's begin. And we begin with the longest running African film festival in the United States going online. Portland's Cascade Festival of African Films is continuing its run despite the coronavirus by screening its films at www.africanfilmsfestival.org. The Portland Community College Festival Director Tracy Francis says, "While we can't gather in person this year, I know that the beauty and power of these films will bring us together even in virtual space." And among films showing at the festival is Air Conditioner from Angola. Our own Myra de la Salette spoke to Angolan filmmaker Fradik about how failing air conditioning units show a different side to life in big African cities.
Eu quinto essa semana.
Quero encontrar esse aparelho na porta, mas bem cedinho. Não quero ter problema com o chefe. Entendeu, né? Não quero ter problema com o chefe. Tá dito.
Now, well-known arts and culture YouTube channel Ubunifu Space is releasing an 8-part docu-series following a group of young Africans touring the continent, discussing music and the African music industry. Cape Town-based rapper youngster CPT makes an appearance, as well as Shoma Jozi, DJ Maforisa, and Shekina with rapper Ricky Rick narrating. And fans of the new Netflix series Bridgerton are cheering its renewal for a second season. Shonda Rhimes is executive producer for the series about a large aristocratic family in London in the 19th century.
Has anyone else read what Lady Whistledown has written of late? Do not tell me that is yet another scandal sheet. This one is different. This one lists subjects by name.
Bridgerton was watched by 82 million people in the world in its first month of release, making it Netflix's biggest show ever. Actor Jonathan Bailey, who plays son Anthony Bridgerton, talks about the production.
The Bridgerton family are kind of like the Kardashians of the Regency era. And they exist in period dramas. We don't really see this level of society, which is really high up. They're aristocrats and they're very close to the Queen.
The series is the first under Rhimes' Netflix deal. Based on books by Julia Quinn, it is created by Chris Van Dusen. He told the Associated Press how he was moved by the original story.
I fell in love with these books from the moment that I first read them. They had every element I always loved. They were funny, they were sexy, they were emotional, and there was this really charming, delightful family at the center of them. Not to mention, this was escapism. The world of the books provided an escape, and that was something I was really looking for at the time.
Bridgerton books, originally released in the early 2000s, now rank among Amazon's top 20 in sales.
Which young ladies might succeed at securing a match? Let it be known, if there's a scandal, I shall uncover it and share every last detail.
Now, the coronavirus pandemic has changed how we do a lot of things, including how we do our hair. Check out this guy right here. Maxim Maskalkov reports.
2020 became a year of practicality and comfort, and for some people the year they tried out new hairstyles.
A lot of people aren't blow drying their hair, aren't flat ironing their hair, aren't curling their hair. You know, the men aren't using their product. They're trying to do lower maintenance styles where they're just able to let it air dry and it still look good.
New times dictate new rules, and many decided to experiment with their style.
A lot of my clients are working from home, they're working remote. So, I mean, you can't really see what someone looks like that much over video. So yes, a lot of women, they're still keeping up with their haircuts, but not as much color.
Another new trend, less is more. Many women are choosing shorter, more daring styles. Interestingly, after the 1918 flu pandemic, the trend was also shorter hair.
Now the women are coming in and they're like, chop it completely off for multiple reasons. I don't know when I'll be able to come back in. I have time to grow it out if I don't like it because I'm not seeing anybody, and I'm ready for something new because of this pandemic.
Natural hair is the new go-to style as well. Women embrace the hair they have, not trying to curl their straight hair or straighten their curls.
A lot of people have really embraced natural hair, and people that maybe had naturally curly hair that always wanted to come in and have you straighten it, and you know, they hated their curls, they never knew what to do with them, and now I really see a trend, and that's been a while, of just really embracing natural hair, textured hair, curly hair.
Fashion stylist and actress Gina Rivera knows she hasn't seen such drastic changes in people's fashion habits in her career.
I found the most change in men, actually. You know, they're just like, I call it COVID hair. I can't tell you, I think every man in my life that I know grew their hair out. You know, they went from, you know, going to the salon every 2-3 weeks and, you know, keeping it perfectly cut to letting it grow.
Many Americans, not wanting to expose themselves and others to any additional risk, prefer to cut their hair at home. And hair trimmers remain up there in the list of Christmas gift ideas. Maxim Moskalkov for VOA News, Washington.
The 154 Contemporary African Art Fair has a new venue this year, holding its first ever fair in France at the well-known Christie's Paris. Referring to its title to the 54 countries that make up Africa, the fair showcases contemporary art from the continent and the diaspora. The annual event had taken place in Marrakesh the past couple of years, but the plan was cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. This year's edition kicked off despite travel restrictions and a 6 p.m. curfew in France. And now to New York, where fashion illustrator and writer Rebecca Moses decided to turn a quarantine art project into a gift to all local nurses. Nina Vishneva has the story, narrated by Anne Rice.
These are some of the work. This is, let's say, the beginning of COVID.
The pictures in this box can help trace back the COVID-inspired lockdown in New York City. Each portrait is a separate page in that saga.
The girl has the popcorn, a bottle of wine, breaking news constantly on television. She's sitting there in her pajamas, just glued to the television.
Rebecca Moses is a famous fashion illustrator and writer. The pandemic altered her plans for 2020, just like it did to millions of people around the world. With little else available, Moses turned to her pencil and her sense of humor.
This was a girl from the back doing her Zooms. This one adopted fostered a dog. This one read her way through the COVID. There were so many. I mean...
Moses asked her Instagram followers to send their pandemic life stories in exchange for a portrait. The responses flooded in from around the world.
I almost want to think that this girl is also Russian.
Sales assistants and fashion influencers, federal workers and philanthropists, teachers and diplomats, stars and strangers. She heard from all kinds of people.
This is a very famous lady. Her name's Nicole Fischlis. She's very French. She hasn't cleaned her apartment herself in so many years. And she had to send the lady home. She had to figure out how to turn on the vacuum cleaner. This woman, her name is Mercedes Salazar. During the first months of COVID, her partner died. She had to come up to New York to Sloan Kettering to be with him his last days. This young lady, she is from Barcelona, Spain, and she had her baby early.
Hundreds of women from 4 to 100 years old, hundreds and hundreds of faces.
This is Linda Valentino. This is the nurse.
This painting started what would later become Moses' main portrait saga, centered around New York City Mount Sinai nurses.
Rebecca painted 46 nurses in the Mount Sinai health system, so each of our system hospitals, which is, to my knowledge, never been done.
Linda Valentino was the only nurse that Moses painted wearing scrubs. The other nurses are portrayed wearing bright clothing.
When all the portraits were finished and they were in their permanent home, they would be like a tapestry, you know, of these remarkable women from all different ethnicities and backgrounds, all with different specialities.
Moses passed all the portraits to Mount Sinai Hospital, where they hang today, adding a splash of color and a glimpse of hope for life after the pandemic. Vanina Vishneva in New York, Anna Rice, VOA News.
The Tokyo Olympic Games that were postponed last year by coronavirus are facing new questions about whether they will be ready to go in July of this year. They could be the first Olympics cancelled since World War II.
Tokyo and other parts of Japan are under an emergency order because of surging coronavirus cases, with about 4,500 deaths. Instead of a countdown celebration, the focus is on the virus and speculation around the Olympics being cancelled. Recent polls show 80% of people in Japan want the Olympics cancelled or postponed. Among them is Shintaro Yamanaka, a 38-year-old businessman who wishes the Games to be cancelled.
Even if Japan was able to curb the coronavirus, I don't think we can welcome athletes considering the current situation. It should be cancelled. The money we spend on the Games should be used for antivirus measures instead.
A final decision on whether to hold the Olympics or not is not expected to be announced until around March 25th, the date that organizers had floated as the start date of the torch relay.
Stars, friends, and fans have been paying tribute to the late broadcaster Larry King, whose interviews with world leaders, movie stars, and ordinary people helped define American conversation for half a century.
King began his career as a radio host in Miami, but rose to global fame with his Larry King Live show on CNN. Following news of his death, tributes poured in on social media. Star Trek's George Takei tweeted, "Thanks for the countless interviews and insights, Larry King. You understood human triumph and frailty equally well, and that is no easy feat. There was no one else like you, and you shall be missed. Rest with the heavens now." Oprah tweeted, "It was always a treat to sit at your table and hear your stories. Thank you, Larry King." The 87-year-old died at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. And while no cause of death was given, he had been suffering from COVID-19.
And tributes also poured in for South Africa jazz trombonist and composer Jonas Gwangwa, who died at the age of 83. A giant of our revolutionary cultural movement and our democratic creative industries has been called to rest, said President Cyril Ramaphosa about the legendary musician who was nominated for an Oscar for the theme song of the 1987 film Cry Freedom. Rest in peace to both legends. And with that, we come to the end of our show today. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voanews.com. We are also on all social media platforms, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Facebook. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye, everyone.